everyone, and welcome back. So, this week we tried out a new method to do some grocery shopping slash meal planning. And in case you didn't know, there is a new method. It's called the 6-to-1 grocery shopping method. It went viral on TikTok a couple weeks back. And basically, the chef who created it, he wants you to go to the grocery store and to pick out ingredients in a certain manner. Okay, so you're going to start by picking out 6 vegetables, then 5 fruits, 4 proteins, 3 starches, 2 sauces, and 1 treat. This could be like a sweet treat or, just anything to treat yourself. And some people have stated that you just do 1 treat and others do 1 treat per person in your house. Totally up to you and your budget. Now, typically when I meal plan, I already have, say, 2 or 3 different meals that I want to include, and then I build my entire menu around those meals. So this was definitely a little different to basically just start with ingredients and then figure out what meals I can make from those ingredients. So, um, I wasn't exactly a big fan of doing this method at the grocery store where you just randomly pick out ingredients, get home, and then figure it out. So I adapted this a little bit to apply to meal planning. So, what I want you to do is pull up walmart.com or whatever grocery store you typically use. And I want you to pull it up and just pull up fruits or vegetables and just see what items are on sale or at a good price and pick those items, write them down. And then once you have all the items, you should have 21 items total. Then start mixing and matching and pairing these items up to inspire some new meals. So, this plan could actually get you out of a food rut if you are used to eating the same stuff all the time. Maybe your grocery shopping is on autopilot where you basically just buy the same thing every week. Let's get a little bit more creative and let's see if this works for you. I will say that after making this menu, I think it's a good plan, especially if you're not already having a couple meals to start with. So let's get into this week's menu. It is a total of breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and a sweet treat for under $100 at Walmart. Now, here's an overview of everything that'll be for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and the groceries that are needed. The snacks are going to be like apples, cucumbers, hard boiled eggs, and pretzels. And the sweet treat is going to be an apple pear cake. Now, don't forget, I put a link down in the description, and you can go see bigger copies of all of these pictures, as well as get a free PDF that you can print at home. Just click that link. Now, on the next few slides, I have broken down this menu to certain days. And I do that because it helps me be more efficient and make cooking meals from scratch a little bit quicker. Now, you don't have to do it in this order. If it doesn't work for you, that is totally fine. You can change around the meals and the days, totally fine. But let's just go through how I've broken this down, and you can see how this will help you to basically pre-prep and pre-cook along the way. Here is the shopping list for this week, and you'll notice that I break everything down to a produce department, the dairy department, the meat department, and the pantry department. We actually didn't use anything from the frozen department, so that's why it's missing this week. Now, my total did come out to $84.90 plus tax. That was in the Houston area of Texas at their Supercenter Walmart. You can do this menu at any store and it will still come out pretty cheap, even if you're not a fan of Walmart. Now, there are quite a few items on this list that you may already have at home. Those are things like flour, rice, pasta, or even canned fruit, because that's a staple item in my house and I typically have some in my pantry. So don't forget to check your fridge, your freezer, your cabinets, and see if you have any of these items already, because this could make your total even less. Now, I always typically make day one pretty simple because we really haven't had any time to prep or pre cook anything. Okay. So for breakfast, we're going to do cottage cheese with some pineapple and some toast. Now, make sure that you give everybody enough pineapple, but you also want to save some of that pineapple for another meal. For lunch, we'll just do a simple fried egg sandwich and you can serve it with pretzels or any of the other vegetables. Leave that up to you. For dinner tonight, we're actually going to go with a vegetarian meal. I don't necessarily say that you should always do one, but I really thought eggplant sounded good, so this is how I chose to use it. So we'll do a simple eggplant parmesan, a side of tomato pasta, and then a little salad. Now, the eggplant parmesan, we're going to use just a standard breading method. And what that means is you're going to start out with 3 containers. One is going to have an egg that you've whisked up with a little bit of water or milk. You're going to have a little tray of flour, and then you're going to have a tray of your breadcrumbs. So, what you'll do is you will dunk the eggplant after you've sliced it into nice rounds. Then go ahead and dredge it through the flour so it gets coated. Dip it into the egg and then dip it into the breadcrumbs and then just put it on a sheet pan. I usually try to grease the sheet pan, and we found at my house that we actually put a cooling rack on top of a sheet pan, and this way the bottom doesn't get real soggy, so you might want to try that too. Now, once these cooked in the oven, we'll pull them out and we will top each one of the eggplants with a little bit of tomato sauce. Now, I know that you can buy tomato sauce that's already seasoned, it's in a jar, and it's really expensive. I actually like to use the can of tomato sauce. It's very basic. It is literally like pureed tomatoes, okay? And I just add a little Italian seasoning to it. And sometimes if I want to go a little bit chunkier, I'll add some diced tomatoes to it, whether they're canned or fresh. Now, so we're going to top the eggplant parmesan with the tomato sauce. We're also going to do a combination of Parmesan cheese and mozzarella. Just sprinkle that on top, put it back in the oven, and melt it. Now, while that's going on, we'll have our pasta boiling, and once it's drained, we'll take the leftover tomato sauce and we'll pour it onto our pasta for a super easy side dish. Now, when we do the side salad for tonight, I would go ahead and prepare your lettuce, tomato, cucumbers, all that stuff on this night, have them pre-packaged so they're ready for the rest of the week. You don't have to worry about that. Since this night, day one typically falls on a Sunday for me, so I have a little bit more time. So tonight, I would probably go ahead and make the apple pear cake. It's very similar to an upside down cake, except instead of pineapple, we're going to use some Granny Smith apples, some of the canned pears. Now, just make sure when you make this that when you drain the pears, you keep the juice because we will actually need that juice to make the cake. And honestly, the juice is a little different in every can. So what I do is I drain the juice into a measuring cup, and I want 1 cup of juice, but if there's not enough, just add some water until you have a cup, and then the rest of the recipe will make sense. So for day 2, we're going to start with some sausage gravy over biscuits with some canned peaches. Now, this is kind of funny, but my husband was actually surprised that you can make sausage gravy yourself because he had always bought like the packets or the cans, which those are totally options. But in this case, I wanted to show you super simple. You can just make this at home. You don't have to pay more expense for this. So we've got a whole pound, like a roll of ground sausage, and we'll go ahead and cook that in a pan. You want to go ahead and cook it until it's fully done. Now, at this point, typically you would drain off the grease, but to make sausage gravy, you actually need that grease. So at this point, once it's fully cooked, I want you to take half of the sausage and go ahead and put that in a Tupperware and put it in the fridge because we're going to use that for another breakfast later on. So from there, we're going to sprinkle about a 1/4 cup of flour into our sausage with the grease, and we're just going to stir that up and let it cook for a minute or two. And then we're slowly going to add our milk into the pan. Don't splash it all in, just kind of slowly, little bit stir. And then you're doing this over medium high heat, and it'll actually start to boil and thicken. And then, bam, you've got sausage gravy. This actually makes a good amount of gravy, so you don't have to be stingy with it. And anything that's left over, you could always use like maybe over toast for lunches. Lots of options there. For dinner, we're going to do an easy sheet pan dinner. It's going to involve chicken thighs that we coat in a honey mustard sauce. And then we're going to have it on a sheet pan with some chopped up yellow squash and 2 sweet potatoes. You can use whatever favorite seasonings you like. I just drizzle them with oil, top them with some seasoning, and then put them on the pan. Super easy. We are going to use the chicken thighs for lunches later, so go ahead and chop them up before you put them up for the night, and that'll help save you time for lunches. Day 3 is a really easy breakfast. We're just going to do scrambled eggs, some toast, and some apple slices. If you haven't seen my videos before, my kids are 4 and 6, and they typically won't eat an entire apple all at one time, and we end up having food waste. So what I like to do is go ahead and chop the apple in half and then just make some slices. I give each kid half of an apple, and typically they'll finish it off. This way, I'm not giving each kid an apple and then having to throw it away because they didn't finish it. I can always give more apple slices, but I hate to have to throw away. And actually, what ends up happening is I end up eating them all. So, anywho, so this is the lunch that I was talking about. We're going to take that leftover honey mustard chicken and we're going to chop it up. And then we're just going to make a super simple sandwich. So I like to put some lettuce and tomato, put my chopped chicken. I can add a little extra honey mustard sauce if I want. And then bam, it's done. And you can serve that with pretzels or any other items. Now, for dinner tonight, we're going to do a super simple ground turkey mac and cheese. This is very much the homemade version of Hamburger Helper. So, very, very simple. We're going to start by going ahead and boiling our pasta until it's tender. And while that cooks, we're going to go ahead and brown up our ground turkey. We're going to do it in a different pan and we're going to keep, just moving it around until it's fully cooked. Now, we are going to need some of this turkey for another meal. So, once that's cooked, go ahead and save half of it, put it in a Tupperware container, and put it in your fridge. Now, we'll go ahead and drain the grease from this, and then the half pound of cooked ground turkey that we have left, we'll just let that chill out for a minute. In a small bowl, we're going to whisk together 1 cup of milk and 2 tablespoons of flour. Just make sure it doesn't have any lumps, and then once that's combined, you're going to pour it into the pan with your ground turkey. Now, you're going to keep this over medium-high heat, and you're just going to stir it for about 2 minutes. Once that time's over, we're going to go ahead and add the other half cup of milk, and we're going to slowly add in our shredded cheese. Now, I put just shredded cheddar cheese, but you can really use whatever cheese that your family likes. Now, as you're slowly adding in your cheddar cheese, this will start to thicken up. So just make sure you keep stirring it because you do not want to burn your cheese. Now, this is the time when I would add your favorite seasonings like garlic pepper, onion pepper, salt, pepper, whatever you like, and then it's ready to go. It's a super easy mac and cheese with ground turkey in it. You can also add other items too if you like. For the side dish on this one, it's a super simple tomato cucumber salad. You basically just chop up tomatoes and cucumbers and any other vegetables you want to include, and then you mix it with a vinaigrette dressing. I actually typically do this in the afternoon just because it's super quick, and I like it to sit in the fridge for an hour or two so that way the vinaigrette really kind of gets into the vegetables. If you don't like vinaigrette, you can totally use Italian dressing and it works just the same. You can also try adding different cheeses like the Parmesan cheese or olives or onions or anything else that you like. Now, day 4, it's funny. The beginning of my week starts really high energy and then it starts to go down. And then on Wednesday, it's usually when I'm very excited to cook. So usually you'll notice day 4s have a more adventurous dinner. So day 4, we're going to make some sausage egg bites with strawberries for breakfast. These are super simple. We're going to use the already cooked ground sausage that we already did. And I just take we do the mini muffins, but you can do the larger ones if you like. I just spray them real well. I sprinkle on the bottom all of my cooked ground turkey, or excuse me, ground sausage. And then I add just some simple cheese. If your sausage isn't very flavorful, you can add some seasonings in there. So what I do is I take the seasonings with my 4 eggs in a measuring cup that has a spout, and I whisk them with a little bit of water until they turn light yellow. And then I just simply pour the egg over my ground turkey, or excuse me, my ground sausage. I will get that right eventually, and cheese, and you'll notice everything kind of floats up. I bake this in the oven for about 12 to 15 minutes, and then they're ready to go. On another morning when we have this, these are super simple. You just throw them in the microwave for 15 to 20 seconds, and they're good to go. So for dinner, we're going to have London broil with mashed sweet potatoes and zucchini. Now, London broil I feel like it's very overlooked, but it is a very good cut of steak. And in fact, to me, it tastes a lot like the expensive steak that you get at like buffets, where you have like all the fat on it. London broil is actually very lean. It does not have a lot of fat. Now, we typically do this on the grill, but you can do it on the stove top. You're basically just going to take a very big pan with a little bit of oil. I usually salt and pepper the London broil first, and then you want to sear it in a pan on very high heat. And then that will make like that nice, really yummy crust on it. And then you can go ahead and continue to cook it at a lower heat until it reaches your ideal temperature. We tend to like them to be medium or even medium rare, but that's totally up to you. Now, before I cook the steak, I'm usually going to go ahead and chop up my sweet potatoes, get them boiling, make a super simple mashed potato, and then the zucchini. You can do this in the oven, or you can just do it in a pan where you saute them in oil with a little bit of seasoning. Super easy. Now, the trick to London broil is once you have fully cooked it, you want to go set it on a cutting board for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Big cuts of really anything need to rest. And what that rest does is it keeps all the flavor locked in and keeps it nice and juicy. When you are ready to cut it, use a very large, sharp knife, and you want to cut it on an angle. I usually make nice slices that are about 1/8 of an inch thick, and so you'll end up with like a long strip of steak. Super yummy. Now, I go ahead and cut the whole steak, and that way when I pack up all my leftovers, it's super easy and convenient for the next meal. Okay, so day 5 is typically my Thursday, and honestly, my cooking energy is very low. So these meals are just really simple but super tasty. We're going to do a very simple strawberry cottage cheese smoothie. And before you ask me, ew, that sounds weird, just try it, because when you put the cottage cheese in a blender with the other items, honestly, you don't taste it at all, but it does add a lot of protein. So, very simple. What I do is I will start by going ahead and trimming up my strawberries. I usually chop them in half, put them in the blender, put whatever cottage cheese I have left. This is also a good time to use up any other leftover fruit. Just make sure not to use the pineapple because we will need that for tonight. But all the other fruits are totally fair game to throw in this. I add a little bit of milk and a little bit of ice. Go ahead and blend it. And if it's too thick, add a little bit more milk to it. This is super tasty and my kids love it. For lunch, I kind of think of this one as finger foods, but we're going to do just some hard boiled egg. We'll do some peaches and we'll do the rest of that tomato cucumber salad. For dinner, I mean, by this time, I have no energy at all and I really just want to throw something together. So, the big part of this dinner is just making rice. The the Thai chili turkey part, honestly, the majority of it's already cooked because our ground turkey is the half pound that's already cooked. We're going to use up some of our vegetables like the squash and the zucchini. But before we start heating that up, we're going to make some quick pickled cucumbers. So we're going to take 2 of our mini cucumbers and we're just going to slice them. I like to do the little half moon shape. And then we're going to mix it with a 1/4 cup of vinegar, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of sesame oil. I've used sesame oil on another week, so you may already have some. If you don't have any, just use regular oil. It's totally fine. So you're going to mix that together. I just do it with a fork and then I pour it over my chopped cucumbers and I stir it really good to make sure all the cucumbers are coated. And then I just go let it sit in the fridge for the 30 minutes it takes me to, get the rest of the meal ready. So back to, we're just going to put our ground turkey and our vegetables in a pan. And then the sweet chili sauce, I found it's a little tiny jar and I just do a little drizzle and mix it to coat. But this Thai chili sauce, it's actually more sweet than spicy, but there is a little bit of spice. So you can use as much as you like or as little as you like. Um, what we do is we'll make our bowls by putting the cooked rice at the bottom. We'll do our turkey and our veggie mixture on top. And then right before I'm going to serve it, I will actually mix in my diced pineapple to give it that little bit more sweetness. And then I like to top it with yum yum sauce, but it's not essential. It's just my personal preference. You don't need it. But if you haven't tried yum yum sauce, you should try it. Okay, it's day 6 and the week is winding down. We're going to have our leftover sausage egg bites with some apple slices, leftovers for lunch, and then for dinner, I honestly don't even want to really heat anything up. So here we go. We're going to have a large salad with our leftover London broil steak. We're going to use up all of our leftover tomatoes, cucumbers, any shredded cheese. You can also go ahead and add anything you like. So you have some more eggs. You could do some hard boiled eggs, pickles, really whatever's in your fridge. Just go ahead and throw it in this salad. Uh, I Maybe I'm weird, but I like a little crunch with my salad. So I typically make some kind of toast to go with it. And for this one, I would do a Parmesan cheese toast to make sure that we use up the Parmesan cheese that we bought this week. So really, you just butter the bread, top it with some Parmesan cheese, maybe have some mozzarella or cheddar left. Go ahead and sprinkle that on top. Um, because I'm not going to do a whole bunch, I usually just do this in the toaster oven and it takes like 5 to 6 minutes. So, super easy thing. Salads are not only super easy, but they are a great way to use up the odds and ends of leftovers. So, make sure you include that with your meal plan. Now, you may be wondering why I don't have a day 7, and that's simple. It's because day 7 typically falls on a Saturday for my family, and we are going to do a basically we're going to make sure everything that is in our fridge is used up. So whatever we have in there, we're going to use it up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Usually it's already pre-made meals, so super easy. And if I don't have a lot of leftovers, I pretty much always have peanut butter and jelly, and my kids love peanut butter and jelly, so super convenient. They would actually eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if I let them. So just remember, you do not have to cook these meals in the order that I have shown you. Do whatever works best for your family. Don't forget to join our Facebook page. All you have to do is search for Low Dough Family in Facebook and it'll show you our page. We post new menus there every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. The link to all the pictures and the free printable PDF is in the description, so make sure to click on that link and get that for free. You don't even have to put in an email address or sign up for anything. Just go ahead and save it or print it at home. Now, if you have any questions about this menu or if you have a suggestion for a meal you would like to see included in a future menu, please leave me a comment below. I hope you have a wonderful week and thanks for hanging out with us. Bye.